Hello and welcome to a Smurd P video, and today we're looking at X-Men Annual 1, and I got the cover with Cyclops and Firestar on it and nothing at the back apart from Black Panther. So the story begins with a fight in a bar, and the fight begins between the Hellions and Firestar, and in this moment she's talking about one of the Helens says it was bad luck to run into me today, Avenger, which is interesting because lots of other X-Men have been Avengers at one point or another. Wolverine, Beast, and Havoc. However, the Helens have a very good point here. They make a point to Firestar about the choices she has made, because when mutants were doing it tough, such as the Hellions and being hunted down, etc., she was with the New Warriors or she was with the Avengers. So what they say is quite valid. And even kissing Captain America, is that what she said? Yeah. Did she kiss Captain America? Is that Captain America? I never knew she kissed Captain America. Good for her. She has been an X-Man at one point or another, so I believe this is the astonishing run here. But sort of before that, she did join Cyclops' Utopia X-Men, or survival of mutants, whatever you want to call it. She was part of that, if I recall correctly. So Iceman joins in, and he finds, let me adjust the camera. That's a bit too bright for that page. I just want to make sure that we get enough so you can see it well enough, but without it blinding you. So and he makes a point that, this inner fight, this is stuff that X-Men were very well known for, and since they've become Krakoa, there's less inner fighting, so to speak. So he actually enjoys it, but he's gonna, they've got to go, they've got to meet him, and he makes their drinks rock anyway. So Firestar has a lot to figure out. Now, one of my biggest disappointments, and this isn't me being disrespectful, is that the writer is not Jerry Dugan. Now, I really hope that Jerry is still on the X-Men title and he's just taking a break so this annual could happen, and he's having he had a good December, perhaps. I do hope that's the case and we've not lost Jerry, because I was really digging Jerry's stuff. So Steve Foxe is the writer. Andrea DeVito is on the art. Sebastian Chung is on the colors. Clayton Cowles is back with the letters. Tom Muller and Jay Bowen remain on design. And then you got some other stuff going on here, which I'm not interested in. And it's got Surviving the Experience, which is a very well-known X-Men phrase. Welcome to the X-Men. I hope you survive the experience. So they are all meeting with Forge to discuss their missions, and I do sort of like the way that they do approach these things, because there's a little joke about from Forge saying, maybe Spider-Man caused, because Iceman and Firestar were in Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. I don't think in the comics, so that I can't remember them being together in the comics like that. It was just a TV show, so it is a bit of a weird dig in the comics, unless I'm completely wrong, which I could be. And Cyclops just like, get straight in there, and then Forge is like, again, always the straight shooter, hey, Psych. So there are some real moments where Forge sort of shines here outside of the group. So they have a few things to do. They've got some creature. And somebody said, I thought I pruned her. So there's lots of little jokes in there. Then we got By Beast is wrecking Vancouver. And then Iceman is straight in there, By Beast. And then Jean's like, Bobby, And then they've got Mojo's called them. And it's got a little Havoc toddler up there. I'm not sure if you see it. And then there's a hospital which seems to have lost some medication, which Sinks pretty much says you can pawn that off to Hellfire Trading to manage that. However, Angela points out that actually, if we're meant to be protecting the world and showing that we're here as X-Men, the hospital is a great place to start. So Iceman wants to get stuck in there and says, yeah, we'll go sort that out. And Cyclops actually steps in and says, actually, I will go with you. Iceman, you'll be better off helping Jean. And even though I'll be making bi jokes while we're there, so get ready for that. However, Cyclops has a sort of hidden agenda, whereas he points out that Emma Frost put Firestar on this team. This wasn't her decision. She didn't want to be on this team. So I think it's time to start. She's shown initiative. Let's see what she's got, and perhaps help her grow into this X-Men role a bit more instead of being on the sidelines. Because let's be honest, some of these characters, they're slowly getting development, very slowly. So this is a nice way of saying Firestar's here. She's an X-Men. Let's make her feel like her contributions matter. So they all go off to do their thing. So there's some rain going on, which is great. And we've got this guy in the car waiting to bugger up some Krakoans. So they arrive there and they speak to the lady there very nicely, and she shows them that actually the shipment wasn't delayed. It actually arrived. And what happened was only a few of us have access, and one of those persons was beaten half to death, and our Krakoan drugs were stolen. And then Firestar says, well, why do they do that? We share them with everybody. They're free. And she says, not for resellers. Resellers will sell them to countries that haven't signed up and to be part of this, etc., etc. And then we get a little bit from Angela about beating cancer without any drugs. And she says, I don't actually like that phrase. Beaten means that perhaps I worked harder to overcome this, and those that didn't survive didn't fight hard, because they probably did fight as hard as they could. It was just one of those things that sometimes you can't defeat, I guess. And she says, my own powers gave me this cancer because because I hadn't developed a natural immunity to them. And in reality, I had a great support network, great medical care, and I got very, very lucky to survive. So I feel like that was a nice moment between them in terms of them bonding, and as Cyclops put it earlier in the story, where that she's not just filling my things, she's actually opening up a little bit here and starting to build relationships with some of the other characters who have been X-Men for a ridiculously long time and know each other inside and out and can go do the job that they're meant to do. And now another great moment, which is fleshed out here, is that why haven't you? Well, he points out that his powers has an appendix of his own in terms of the optic blast. And she asks a question, which many of us have asked. I've asked that in many of these issues when I thought about it. I've said it. She says, have you ever considered fixing your powers during resurrection? And he says, and this is a great moment, this is a Cyclops moment, not once. And I've had the opportunity more than I care to admit, because he's died a few, but not once has he wanted to be anything other than what he was before he died. And that is Cyclops all over. And in his mind, in Cyclops' mind, he probably feels like this makes him better. And also, you've got to remember, that's all he's known. So to change that and have full control over those optics, maybe he feels like he may not have full control over those optics, and perhaps this whole control is important to him. And that's what sometimes being a leader is, having control, not being because your job is to lead these people, protect these people, and make sure you protect innocence, etc. And if he worries that by having control that could go wrong, it's, he's got to weigh up those risks, hasn't he? So it's great. You also get this transcript with Jumbo about a fit-in, which I didn't really read. And meanwhile, a hurricane breaks out, and there is a character up there who we don't know who that is. Meanwhile, the rest of the X-Men are getting stuck in. They're talking about that they're missing some plot action, and Sync says by the time we are finished, they will still be at the hospital. So then they get on to by Beast, and pretty much they want to get that over with before Iceman starts busting out his things. But he says, I would never mock Bybeast for living the truth. Which is interesting. Meanwhile, there's dinosaurs in Brooklyn, which they're going. So, Angela gets thrown against a car, and she says, oh, no, it isn't. It is Whirlwind. Whirlwind is there. And we get a reference to a previous story around Vance when the New Warriors were thrown overboard, and it helped get them into the Avengers. Well, they took him out, sorry. And that's what helped them get into Avengers. So she says, I kicked you when I was a teenager. Do you know what I mean? And then we get an X-Force database search records on Whirlwind, which is accessed by Scott Summers, I guess, later on. So, which is interesting. So, meanwhile, the Savage Lands. Brainchild is going to rule these outposts with dinosaurs, etc. Which is awesome. Meanwhile, Sync, he sinks in with Spider-Man of all, Miles Morales' Spider-Man, which I'm reading at the moment. I'm loving it. And he he borrows his Venom Blast, etc. And he says, you know what? Why there's dinosaurs, it's not stealing, it's an emergency. And Magic points out, you're much less annoying than the other one. He says, I get that a lot. So, which is quite interesting. And Jean checks in with Scott. And things are still bad there. They're trying to get to the hurricane shelter, etc., and to protect them. At the meantime, they're in the middle of something. So, we soon learn that Whirlwind stole the pills, and he was there to kill somebody's daddy for the inheritance. Meanwhile, Cyclops takes him out with a blast. And, well, we have zombie babies. What better way to celebrate an annual with zombies babies? And they just look absolutely brilliant, and they are enjoying it, etc. in the Mojoverse. And, you know, just the fact that Jean Grey's got a little Cyclops there. So, Whirlwind intends to go at it again. Firestorm takes him out completely, and he gets caught an idiot because he's got an unmarked van, etc. And meanwhile, we learn, actually, I didn't know this, Whirlwind is actually a mutant, and actually had the opportunity to perhaps go to Krakoan, but he decided, when somebody nukes you, I do not want to be there, and it will happen. And also, I've set this little nifty device off, which is meant to be a trap because I got underpaid by the lady. I was gonna set it off as a joke at the dad's funeral. And so they rush in. So Firestorm rushes in there and pretty much has one moment, and she destroys the device. And she says, it's fried, and you know what? Somebody needs to go in there and retrieve it, and I'm way too squeamish for that. And they talk about zombies, etc. And it was a great family bonding moment. But what's more important than family bonding than taking out some Sentinels in a classic moment? Havoc also has a little moment saying, you know what, why is Mojo still using the X-Men of that era? There's been lots of different areas since. Why go back to Outback, X-Babies, etc.? So, it looks like round 2 with the Hellions. However, Angela does something amazing. She goes and says, you know what? Nothing you said was wrong, because it was all true. Let's be honest, what the Hellions said. It was all true. And she said, I had my reasons for coming and going, but I get it now. I intend to live up to this. I intend to put the work in. I intend to not give in when it gets hard. I'm not going to go somewhere else. I'm here to stay, basically. I'm going to stand side by side with you to protect the island for our right to live in the world. And then, you know, she says, I can't remember all their names. Is that Slipstream? Is Slipstream a guy or a girl? I can't remember. Anyway, she points out, don't prove it to us, prove it to yourself, X-Man. And then they all have a little cheers, and the end. So that is it for now in terms of X-Men Annual. And I thought that was very cool. And there's some really good moments in this issue that I really enjoyed. And Mr. Foxe did actually a fabulous job, I feel. Fabulous job. So well done. And I do hope that Jerry is back with normal X-Men. I honestly do, because that's... I love Jerry's work, so that's just me being selfish. I hope we haven't lost Jerry. If any of you know, just say, hey, Paul, he's still in the mix. Don't worry, he's not going anywhere. Oh, but actually, let's just say, so we've got X-Men Dark Web at the moment, and which is a crossover with Spider-Man and Venom, I think, and Madeline Pryor. But after that, we've obviously got Sins of Sinister, so there is going to be an X-Men break after X-Men 19. I feel like that's the last issue for a little while. I could be wrong. You know, maybe it's just the fact that they haven't released any pre-orders yet, and maybe that will happen later. But if it's not, I'll be reviewing the Sins of Sinister events. So make sure you subscribe to my channel. Really appreciate it. Thank you to those that already subscribed. Make sure you look after yourself. Very important these days. And as always, embrace geekiness. Take care. Goodbye.